All right, welcome everyone. Thank you, Alexa, for the prayer. This is one of my favorite class meetings. You can tell me at the end if you think it's crazy or it's just me, but we're going to do a little interactive activity today that's going to highlight this week's law, which is the law of uniqueness. And we're going to talk about the art of individual self-worth. I've got that wrong. Maybe I'm right. I don't have my book with me. What's the art this week? Can someone tell me from Inner Victory? It's the law of uniqueness and the art of, I've taught this for 20 years. This is dumb that I'm not remembering it right. Who's got it? Someone chat it out or tell me.
Sensing individual worth.
Yes, I was close. So the law of uniqueness is pretty basic, right? We are all unique. Not one of us are exactly the same. Even identical twins have some things that make them unique from each other. In the little meme I sent out with the announcement, it's like a snowflake. We're all different. Our fingerprints are different. Our uniquenesses are different. And celebrating the differences is what we're going to be talking about this week. On part 3 of your personal creed document, I'm going to show you some examples of that here in a minute. But what we're going to do to introduce the topic today is we're going to do a personality test. Now, this is a super simple one. I've done some that are like, would take time, right? You're filling out a questionnaire. What color are you? There's the Strengthsfinder that a lot of people do, and we all get a code or a classification what our strengths are. And all of us have different strengths, uniquenesses, abilities. This one I learned from the author of Psycho-Cybernetics 2000, Bobby Sommer. We've talked about that book in week 3. And she did this test for us, and I've always enjoyed this and thought about it a lot. And it actually has almost an exact correlation with how Brother Christensen ends up with this chapter in Inner Victory. Now, this isn't rocket science. As I do this, we have 23 people on. We might get a couple more. Most of the time, people who do this say, yes, this feels right. And others people say, nah, that was not right. But what we're going to do, and you have to follow this instructions pretty carefully. And I noticed that at least one of you are driving, so you have to fake it if you're driving and on while you're remote while commuting. But if not, if you could grab just something to do 1 through 5 on, a piece of paper. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you 5 different shapes. Now, I want you to listen carefully to this next instruction. It's super important. I don't want you to overthink the shapes. If you spend more than about 10 seconds trying to decide which of these shapes, how you're going to order these shapes, you're spending too much time thinking about it. So you're going to see 5 shapes. I want you to just, don't do it too fast. Ponder it for a minute and say, all right, I'm going to list these 5 shapes in order of my preference. Number 1 to number 5. And I don't want you to debate over, I like this a little bit more. Just kind of go with your initial, not overthink it, but don't do it too fast, reaction as to these 5 shapes. Any questions? 5 shapes, rank order, your preference in about 10 to 15 seconds. Set, go. Square, rectangle, triangle, circle, squiggly line. 1 through 5. Favorite to least favorite. Those of you who have your camera on, I see you puzzling. That's good. About 10 more seconds just to give you a little extra. Square, rectangle, triangle, circle, squiggly. Okay, we ready? Okay. What I want to do, and we'll use chat for this in case there's a whole bunch of you. What I want you to do is type in your first name in chat if your number 1 shape is a square. Type your name in chat if number one shape is a square. We have 23. There's got to be at least one square. All right, no squares. No squares. Seriously, no squares. I've never had this happen. All right. Okay, Lacey, thank you. We got one square. Anybody else? Lacey is one square. Anybody else? Lindsay is 2. Thank you. Okay, 2 squares. We'll see if there's any more. All right. Okay, scrap the squares for a second. You can't take your names off, but this is now new names. Anybody have rectangle as their number one shape? This is the least common always. Rectangle, least common shape. Anybody rectangles? That means we're gonna have a whole bunch of other everybody else. Okay. Triangle, favorite shape, triangle. List your names if your favorite shape is the triangle. Natalie, thank you. JC. Only 2 triangles. Wow, we're gonna have a lot of circles and squigglies. All right, I'm expecting to see now a lot of circles. First name, Brielle, I'm gonna read these off. Anna, Kayla, Talia, Talia, I might say that wrong. Liz, Amanda, Eliza, good. Okay. Last but not least, probably half a dozen or more of you, squiggly lines. So if someone just jumped on late, what you need to be doing is I want you to rank order these 5 shapes that you see on your order of preference, top to bottom. Least favorite, most favorite number 1, least favorite number 5, 3 in the middle. Okay, we got some squigglies, good. Okay, now most of you could take your top 2 shapes. You're gonna have a dominant shape, but most people have a close second. So for me, my first shape is a rectangle, a triangle, followed by a circle. So you can kind of almost put them together, okay? So let's talk about each of these. And I want you guys, and I'd love to have some of you unmute your mic and tell me how right this is or how wrong this is, as I tell you about your personality types, okay? Number 1 is the square. We had a couple squares. The squares are our workers. They like order and structure. They like jobs to be done right. They're very good problem solvers. They like the status quo, and they're very organized. So our 2 squares were Lacey and Lindsay. Accurate, off, feels right.
For me, it's pretty accurate.
Thank you, Lacey. Pretty accurate. Lindsay, how about for you?
Yeah, I think that was pretty accurate for me too.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you a little story before we go to rectangle, okay? I manage the Career Center on campus, and over the years, I've been the chaperone on what we call expeditions, where we take BYU Idaho students out to visit companies. And on some trips, we'll have engineers, we'll have accountants, we'll have finance, we'll have comm, we'll have different types. And I usually end up in a bus or a van full of one major, right? Lacey and Lindsay, you could tell me, do you guys, what are your majors? Lacey and Lindsay.
I'm a photography major.
Photography major, excellent. Okay. And the other, who was that spoke up? Was that Lacey or Lindsay that spoke up first?
I'm an exercise physiology major.
That's physiology major. Okay. So I'm gonna throw a wild thing out there. Lacey, as a photographer, was it Lacey that's photography or Lindsay?
Lindsay.
Lindsay, what was your second shape? Because as a photography person, I'm betting it was circle or squiggly. Maybe I'm wrong.
For myself, it was a circle.
Here's a circle. Okay. So you're a very organized photographer. I'd be surprised if a photographer that circle wasn't up near the top. Okay. But if I had a carload of engineers, they really lean square. They like straight lines. They like order. They like structure. Accountants lean square. Okay. So shape 2. Everybody, if you want to do this, you If you're single and dating, give this personality test a run because everybody wants to be married to a rectangle, okay? So rectangles are team players. They're flexible. They like people to get along. They want everyone involved in the decision. They like things done fairly, and they're very accommodating. So if you had rectangle second, that means that you're a good team player, right? We had no rectangles, maybe some rectangle seconds, that's okay. All right, the next one is the triangle. Okay, our triangles are our movers and shakers. They're climbers. They're action-oriented. They like to make decisions. They look to the future. They don't always pay attention to detail. They like to make lists, but may not always follow them, and they have a lot of irons in the fire. I'm a triangle. Okay, if I was in a band load of finance majors and entrepreneurs, they want to be CEO, right? They want to be the chairman, the director. Okay, so for our triangles, that would have been, I think, Alexa, Brianna, maybe Brooke. I'm trying to remember. No, sorry, no, top. Natalie, JC, Brielle, Anna, maybe. How does that feel for you, triangles? Does that fit? Not so? 100%? Kind of?
I'd say about half of them.
Half.
Maybe a little over than half.
Okay, good. So we're partly there. Okay, thanks, Natalie. Anybody else? Any other triangles want to speak up?
Same. I think some of them for me, not all of them, but some of them.
That's probably true for all of us, right? We're not going to be 100%, but we might lean that way. Okay. We got a whole bunch of circles, so I'm hoping to hear from some of you. Our circles are our lovers. They're adaptive. They like harmony. A little bit like a rectangle there. They get along with people. They like to talk. They're very personable and approachable, and they're good people readers. They're our communicators. How about that for circles? Anybody want to chime in? Does that feel?
I'd say that applies to me.
Excellent. Thank you. My wife is a circle square. She loves to talk to people, and she's organized. So if you go into my closet, we share a walk-in closet, not very big, not big enough, sadly. But her stuff is all organized, right? Dress shirts, casual, blouses, skirts, dress pants, shoes are neatly lined up, dress shoes in one section, casual shoes on the other. I'm a triangle, right? The good news is there's nothing on the floor. I hang my stuff up, but it is not organized. It is hung up, not organized. Okay, anybody else from lovers? Does this feel right? Anybody else want to tell me? I heard someone quietly.
I'd say it's pretty accurate.
Okay, thank you. You're a Dresden, man. They're all circles. All the Dresdens I know are circles. And singers. Are you a singer? Yeah, of course. Okay. Eliza says, that's definitely me. I had a hard time choosing between circle and rectangle. Man, Eliza, you're the perfect combination in my book. I wish, well, never mind. I'm a circle square. No, my wife's a circle square. All right, last one, the wild person. All right, the squiggly line. They like variety. They don't mind being a little out of control as long as it's fun. Very creative, will try anything, like independence, and they are daring. Okay, we had quite a few squigglies. How does that ring true? Squiggly lines. And you squigglies should be the first to talk. Okay, so George says, not a fit. Personality more of a square. Okay, that's okay. Where was square, Jordan, on your list? Was it a close second, distant third? Now, obviously, if I was to give you the definitions beforehand associated with it, you would choose based upon how you know yourself, which would be fine too. Anybody else? Any other squiggly lines? Okay. Now, as I said before, most of us are going to have a couple that we lean towards. This is me, a triangle circle. And if we compare this with Inner Victory, at the end of the chapter, he talks about 4 personality types. Dominant and directive would be our triangles. Influencing or interactive would be our circles. Steadiness and supportive would be our rectangles. And our square would be conscientious, compliant, and competent. Not an exact match in Inner Victory for the squiggly line. So what do you guys think the lesson from this is? This is about personalities. What can we learn from this activity? And I'm going to tell you a little example from Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. Any thoughts? And think back on what you learned if you've already read the chapter at Inner Victory. Any comments or thoughts on why this activity might reveal something about us? This is my take on it, okay? In Inner Victory, Brother Christensen talks about different is different, not wrong. And Dr. Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, stated that as a psychiatrist, he was very comfortable dealing with neuroses. Neuroses are stuff that almost all of us are going to deal with some time or another. And we kind of hit on it when we talked about a couple weeks ago about our belief window, right? I deal personally with anxiety. I've even written a book on the topic. And it's frustrating at times. It's a blessing at other times. But anxiety and depression and most phobias are very treatable because it's almost always rooted in our thinking patterns, and we can change the way we think. Dr. Burns said, change the way you think, change the way you feel. Personality disorders are difficult to deal with, according to Dr. Frankl, because our personality is almost like part of our DNA. So here's an example. I could say to myself after 37 years of marriage, I wish my wife was a different shape, right? I will drive myself crazy and her crazy if I try to make my circle wife into a squiggly line, or my partner, spouse, sibling, friend, boyfriend. If they're a triangle, I'm not going to make them a square. I will not succeed. So you have to just say, listen, I'm going to celebrate all this awesome about my partner, spouse, their personality and their traits, because there's so much good with each of these. I will be frustrated if I try to make them become something who they're not. So remember, and I want you to think about this as you build your personal creed document this week. Different is great. Celebrate what's unique about yourself. And you're going to have two parts of this, if you follow the instructions directly. Talk about your talents and gifts and abilities that make you so unique. And just touch briefly. This might be something I'd like to work on, right? I'd like to be more creative, or I'd like to be more patient, or I'd like to be more educated, prone to education, okay? I would like it to be about 95% the positive that you will have, and then about 5 to 10%, maybe 5% tops, something you'd like to work on, okay? So we're going to skip this for the sake of time. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of personal creed documents, part 3, okay? My thing's hiding this. Reflections of me, okay? So again, what you're going to be handing in this week probably won't look like this to begin with. It's just going to be the words. Now, if you want to get, and we're almost halfway through the semester, we are basically halfway through the semester. If you want to start formatting your personal creed document now into whatever you're going to have it be in the end, it will just save you some time in the end, okay? But as a young woman, this is who I am. I sing, I'm fun, I listen. These are some great things. And we used to have people write a letter to a friend. We don't do that anymore. But write a letter to friends and tell me about what you like about me, or what you admire, what you notice in me. And then you have at the bottom, she says, one trait that I'd like to improve on is my ability to tell people no. I'm a people pleaser. So most often, sometimes what we have as a great trait or ability has kind of a flip side that's also, in some situations, not necessarily the best. Okay? Example 2. Now you can see on this one that she did it all on one page. Perfectly fine. One-page document, done. It's great. In this example, this person has multiple pages, okay? Understand yourself. Introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm not mad or depressed or antisocial. I just need to not talk to anyone for a while, and that's okay. And then she highlights some myths about introverts. And I just thought this was really fun and enjoyable to go through. Okay. More myths. Okay. She's really expounds into it. And then she also enjoys and loves beauty. She is to learn. She loves to learn. And she is a daydreamer. Okay. You can see the creativity here. It's kind of fun. So that's 2 examples. Okay. It can be a 1-page document, it can be a multi-page document. Have fun with this. If you have capacities or talents in art or poetry or writing, photography, we have one photographer we already talked today. Celebrate those things. Celebrate what makes you unique. It's good for your self-esteem. It's good for your outlook on life. It's good to really kind of, we sometimes preach humility in the church to a fault. Be a little bit proud of the stuff that you're good at. And we also know from the scriptures that some of these gifts, it might be something that you're working on, and it can be something that with God's help, you can achieve or get better at. Okay, so that's just housekeeping for this week. This is your personal creed document part 3. Over the next actually several weeks, we're taking a break from building personal creed document. We're going to build up to part 4, which is on your values. We're going to talk about the law of expectation, the law of balance, the law of 1% over the next 3 weeks before you actually build part 4 on values. And I think Brother Christensen created it that way because values is kind of the center. It's actually the middle of your creed document, but everything else kind of hinges on it. It's super, super valuable. No pun intended. Important. So this week we'll have that. Next week this week is that, and then we'll move on. Any questions about what we're doing this week, or assignments, or things we're working on? Okay, well, we'll stop this recording, and I'll stay on if anybody wants to visit with me one-on-one, or as whatever who's left. And if not, we'll see you next week. I hope you guys had a great Memorial Day. We had a meeting today on campus about hopefully fall semester being a little more normal than not normal. I'm praying for it. We're all kind of ready to get back to normal living. So, okay, thank you all, and we will see you next week.